Welcome, everyone, to episode 40 of the Thundercraps podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. I am your host, a cake topper on Gene Okerlund's wedding cake, Josh Kaiser. And joining me today, a man with the sharpest toe in the boots, Kyle Hoagland.
Do you have any idea what the hell they were talking about with Gene Okerlund's cake? I think Heenan mentioned it like 3 or 4 times throughout the show.
Every time there was a precarious spot between two guys, he was just making a joke that it was the little cake toppers on Okerlund's cake. Okerlund was married in like 74 or something like that, so it wasn't like he just had a wedding or something that they did that. I don't know. It's a pre-tape show where they're recording in a booth. I think Heenan was just bored and trying to make jokes at the expense of Gene Okerlund.
I mean, was this supposed to be like a homosexual dig, or I couldn't. I was just trying to make heads or tails of what he was trying to get at, and it seemed like Tenay and Marshall and Tony were just kind of like going along with it. Like I think they kind of laughed it off too, but I just didn't know. I didn't know what to make of it.
I don't think there was anything in particular other than a crack at Gene, and I think Shivani was actually cracking up at after like the second or third one. But that's what happens when it's a pre-tape show in November. If you haven't watched yet, it is Thunder 40. It is November 12th, 1998, and it is a pre-tape show from Roanoke, Virginia, where we were last week. Of course, when we get a pre-tape show, Kyle, we're never sure what we're going to be in store, what we got in store for us, and we find out that our main event is Conan versus the Giant. So I already know that this show, it could be one for the ages.
It doesn't get much more Thunder than that. So I guess I can't get too mad about it. I think this is now 2 out of the last 3 main events have showcased the Giant. I think after we've been kind of talking about how Stevie Ray has usurped him for the the main eventer of 1998, I feel like the Giant had to step it up, and he's coming back in a big fashion.
Yes, he is. The commentary booth, they don't open up with him this time, so they just go straight, cutting the audio over what we're seeing. And after we find out the Giant and Conan are going to be in our main event, we open up with with Glacier coming out, so it's already a good start. And we find out we're still talking about Jesse Ventura, Hogan, and politics. So wrestling and politics coming together, and Lee Marshall. Of course, dropping a chicken in every pot and a folding chair at every forehead is basically the campaign that Hogan's going to be running under. And we find out that World War III, of course, 10 days away, and Kidman will be defending his title against the winner of Juventud Guerrera and Rey Mysterio, which we'll see later tonight. So, hey, that's at least a match worth watching this week on Thunder. But we're graced with the presence of Glacier cutting a promo, so that's a good way to open up the show. He, of course, talks about he is the originator of the cryonic kick. He invented it, and all you fakes out there who think you can do it, you can't. And that includes Chris Adams, his opponent for this opening bout. So Chris Adams and Glacier opening up Thunder 40. It doesn't get much better than that.
I mean, the only thing I was waiting for was Perry Saturn just kicking both of them in the face and leaving, but we weren't lucky enough to have that.
We were not, but what we were lucky enough to find out is that Chris Adams can powerbomb someone. So,
dude, loved it. Loved that spot.
Shocked for that. And then after he follows up the powerbomb with the super kick, so Glacier is about to job to Chris Adams here until Sonny Ono comes out for the distraction. And as Sonny Ono's distracting that 3 count, the cat comes from behind, kicks at Chris Adams in the head, pretty much makes Chris Adams just fall limp. Glacier's going to come in and stick his thumb into Chris Adams' throat, and that's going to be your winner. That's going to get your winner, and what they call the finisher, Lee Marshall calls it the distracted by Sonny, kicked by Cat, submission by Glacier. I give it 2 stars because that ending is everything I could ask for when it comes to a Glacier-Chris Adams match.
Yeah, man, I wanted to like this. I mean, I'll say this: I liked it more when the cat came out. I think
let's just say Glacier wins with the thumb submission. Nothing else happens. No Sonny Ono, no cat kicking him in the head. This match is a 1.5 stars, right?
Right. And I had in here, it was a 1.5 stars until the cat showed up. And also, let's put it this way: don't disrespect the thumb to the throat or whatever it was. It's called the ice pick. Okay, we all know this.
They didn't know what it was called. They called it. They called it distracted by Sonny, kicked by cat, submission by Glacier. So that's what I'm going to call it.
All right. Hopefully we'll get a shortened version, but I did do a little bit of my homework earlier, and it's called the ice pick. So we're going to see it again, I guess, because there's a name for it. I gave it a
Saturday night.
This is true. That's where he's a Viking. I gave it a 1.75 stars. Ice Pierce said it's a 1.5 stars without the cat showing up. I was actually glad Glacier looked like a piece of shit that could lose to Chris Adams. It's definitely like a classic heel thing to happen where talks a big game, has the look, but then just gets his shit kicked in. And once again, let's not count out Chris Adams. He does have the official first pinfall of Thunder history, beating one Macho Man Randy Savage. So it's not like Chris Adams doesn't have accolades to speak of. But I just like the fact that legitimately looks like Glacier was going to job if it wasn't for Cat coming out and saving the day. I would have hated this match more if Glacier had just squashed Chris Adams just overall. So if he did, I actually would have given this match a 1.5 stars. Especially if he didn't do the cryonic kick. I think that's the thing that drove me nuts. This guy's bitching about how people are using his own kick, and then doesn't use the kick.
Match. Yes. It made no sense there, but I gave it 2 stars because the cat, Sonny Ono, had to come in and save Glacier from beating.
Did you notice too that
Chris Adams?
It wasn't even like there was a distraction. Mickey J breaks the count because
it was very
Glacier's
strange.
Foot is off the ring, which I get, but I've hardly ever seen anybody actually call that.
You really don't see it called much, and it was like, but was Sonny Ono pointing it out so he would call it? I couldn't figure out if he called the 2 count for the foot under the rope before Sonny Ono came in there. It was very weird.
It looked like he did it before, like Sonny Ono was kind of late for his own spot. Which you would never see if Jimmy Hart would do it, because Jimmy Hart would have been out there already. But Sonny Ono was, I think, a little bit late to the party, so I think Mickey J just took it upon himself to notice that his foot was under the rope, which I never, in all my years of watching wrestling, I know about the foot on the rope. I wasn't so much aware of the foot that kind of dangles off the apron.
I mean, if your foot goes underneath the rope, you were considered breaking the pin because your foot is under the rope. That is
okay.
Yeah, that is legit. So
okay.
After the match, we get our first replay of the night, and I think our only replay of the night.
I think it is, yeah.
It's Nitro. Of course, Hogan coming out. He's got the presidential music with NWO over it. It's him. It's Bischoff. It's a bunch of security guards. The American flag coming down. Confetti, balloons. Of course, he's announcing his presidential campaign for the 2000 election. He says, him and Bischoff basically says Minnesota set the tone, electing Jesse the Mind. They basically don't edit this promo at all. So it's like 10 minutes of Thunder, it feels like, here as they're doing all this. Bischoff is campaign manager. Gene Okerlund's going to ask him what party he's running for. He doesn't let us know, and he also doesn't let us know his running mate, which of course is what they teased us last week on Thunder he would do on Nitro. So he didn't do that, and then Gene's going to ask him if he likes cigars. Of course, making a Bill Clinton joke there, and of course Hogan's going to end it with saying, "I don't smoke." So,
not even a brother or something like that. It is. I feel like he wasn't ready for that question at all. And we got Terry and not Hulk Hogan to answer that question.
We get back, and when we come back from the replay, we've got the booth we got Bobby Lee and Tony sitting there. So they're trying to pretend like they're live show again as they cut us in the middle of the program now. So
you wily veterans, you.
And then it's like, okay, what are they going to talk about? We'll talk about World War III and the 60-man battle royal for whoever's going to win. So literally a very easy one to record and splice anywhere they want during a show, because it has nothing to do with anything that's happening on the last Nitro or anything like that. They're just promoting the pay-per-view. So well done, guys, on trying to trick us to think it's a live show. But then we move into the ring again, and now we got Kendall Windham coming out, and I'm wondering who he's going to job against. And then I see Kenny Kaos coming out, and I think, my God, we're really bringing out the stars this week on Thunder. Kenny Kaos, of course, tag team champion with Rick Steiner, or so I thought. He's walking out here without the tag title. And we find out that Rick Steiner is now defending the tag titles at World War III with Judy Bagwell. So apparently Rick's just picking different tag team partners to be champ with. So
hey man, Wolfpack rules. And also, I mean, if you're gonna, how shitty does Kenny Kaos have to feel at this point?
Hey, you know what? You know who's the big winner in all this is Robbie Rage, because he gets his partner back.
This is true. I felt bad for Robbie.
Who shouldn't feel bad for is Goldberg, who is apparently a very sexy individual, according to Tony Schiavone. And Tony says, of course, I'm going to call him sexy because I don't want to be speared. And then Heenan and Tony are going to go back and forth about Heenan's pick for World War III. He is now leaning towards Booker T as his favorite to win World War III. Where Lee Marshall's going to pick either Kevin Nash because it's his hometown crowd in Detroit, or possibly Kenny Kaos. So,
it's a big old fat no.
And the reason he picks Kenny Kaos because he says, he not only liked wearing that tag team championship, but he loved having that gold around his waist. So now he's more determined than ever to win that number one contendership. So Kenny Kaos with a real shot in the backing of Lee Marshall. As for this match, I don't know what the commentary team thought about it because they didn't discuss it. They discussed Judy Bagwell and her and Rick defending against Buff and Scott, and that's pretty much what the majority of the match was. Kenny Kaos is going to go over the top apron into it like springboard into a shoulder block for the 3 count. And as you mentioned in your notes, Kendall Windham's foot was underneath the rope, but they're not going to care about it here. They're just going to count the 3 count. I gave it a star and 3/4. I mean, honestly, who cared about that match? Because the commentary team didn't. You and I didn't. I don't know what else to say about it.
Yeah, that's almost exactly what I said. I mean, they cared more about Judy Bagwell's future in wrestling than talk about this match. I also wanted to point out that Kenny Kaos just felt like if Mike Enos and Scott Steiner had an illegitimate son, and it was like Kenny Kaos has a lot of the body physique of Scott Steiner, maybe a little shorter, but has all of the personality and excitement that Mike Enos brings to a match. That's Kenny Kaos in singles competition. It's
also Kenny Kaos in tag competition.
This is probably true. We all know that Robbie Rage is the Shawn Michaels.
Right. After this, we get Jerry Flynn coming out, so the stars just keep rolling out. But
Jesus Christ, Thunder.
But he is going to be jobbing against Stevie Ray, who was accompanied to the ring by Horace, Scott Norton, and Vincent. And commentary team all fired up at Bobby Heenan, who now says Stevie Ray is his favorite. And he said he always said that. He said and they said, what about Booker T? And he said, no, I said Booker T's brother, Stevie Ray. And they said, you can't keep changing. He goes, fine, I'll pick Scott Norton to win World War III. And then the commentary team turns back to discussion on the president and Hogan. And Tony Schiavone's going to suck up about Jesse Ventura and says, basically, you know where I live, give me a call or something.
He basically said I knew since the beginning that he would be in high office.
Yeah. As for the match itself, Jerry Flynn's going to go to the outside and going to get beat up by the NWO on the outside, which Charles Robinson has zero problem with whatsoever. Apparently disqualifications aren't a thing in this match. At one point, Horace is going to choke out Jerry Flynn, and this is when Heenan says even Horace Hogan could win this World War III, and then brings up the crazy idea that what if Horace Hogan won World War III, then beat Goldberg at Starrcade, and then gave the belt to Hogan? If that sounds familiar to you, Heenan may have just wrote the script and replaced Horace with Kevin Nash. And
whoa, dude! Spoilers, all right. Not everyone's following up with. Everyone's going. Some people are on for the ride, man. Don't get to the. It's all about the journey, not the destination.
So it was kind of interesting that he threw that all out there. Of course, Stevie Ray's going to win with the slapjack. I gave it a star and a half. I don't know if this match ever had a chance at a higher rating than that for me.
I'm sticking with my star and 3/4. Nothing yet has really been interesting of a match so far in this thing. I think the only thing that I thought was funny was the commentary, which maybe I gave that an extra 1/4 star. One of my favorite things I saw was I think it was Tony saying, "Can you imagine a president walking around with a world title belt around his waist?" And then Heenan just goes with, "Could you imagine Judy Bagwell walking around with the tag title around her waist?" And I was like, you know what? Well said, Heenan. Well said. Star and 3/4. I also love the idea that Stevie Ray needed the NWO to beat up Jerry Flynn.
Yes, no doubt about that. After this, we go to our what could have been the real main event of the night. Juventud Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio Jr. for the number 1 contendership for the Cruiserweight Championship. So finally we get a match between two good superstars with stipulations on the line. This is pretty exciting. And we're also going to get our first sign of the night. Of course, it's a pre-taped show, so it's hard to find new signs. But we did see one here. I stained Monica's dress. So gotta love the lewd crowd here in Virginia. We also find out that Chavo Guerrero is going to get a Cruiserweight title match tonight. So fuck you, Juvi. Fuck you, Ray. Chavo's just going to get the Cruiserweight Championship match while you two got to battle out for the number 1 contendership here. This match starts out with a lot of headlocks back and forth, then a lot of fists and chopping back and forth. And then we just cut to commercial, of course, because let's pick this match of all the matches so far tonight to go to commercial break. But then when I find out that the match is going to be like 25 minutes long, it makes sense that they have to go to commercial break. Rey Mysterio is going to do a Bronco Buster at some point. Of course, this is where we get our first Gene Okerlund wedding cake comment when Juvi and Ray both basically went to like scoop slam each other and just like hugged each other instead. But the real story of this match is Juventud Guerrera is going to execute a lot of good moves and then give Rey Mysterio a lot of time in between, which commentary team time and time again call him out for, not taking advantage of the moment. And this eventually is going to lead to Juvi's going to prevent the 450, Ray's going to prevent the 450 from Juvi, and then eventually there's a brainbuster by Juvi, and the bell rings, and you're like, oh shit, we got the time limit draw here. But we don't. Charles Robinson talks to the timekeeper. They said, with the stipulations on the line, there must be a winner in this match. This is good. So the match continues on. A lot of 2 counts back and forth. Eventually, Juvi is going to go and do this like reversal off the top down into like a powerbomb move, which Lee Marshall lost his fucking mind for. He was jacked at the end of this match. Juvi's going to hit the Juvi driver, but he's going to taunt for too long before he goes for the 450. This is going to lead to Ray doing his Hurricanrana off the top. Ray's going to be your winner. This match got a lot of time. There were some exciting moments, but there was also some times that there weren't a lot of exciting moments to it. I don't know. I only gave it 2.5 stars. I wasn't crazy about the match, and I thought even with I did like the time limit draw, but keep going aspect of it. But overall, I thought this match could have been a lot better than it was.
See, my problem with this match, I also gave it 2.5 stars, and I agree with everything you said. It was a good match and all, but if you're going to have a time limit draw with 2 workers like this, you would make it feel like at the end of the time limit draw, they're both exhausted. They're kind of when the time limit draw was over, they both were kind of just standing there like, "Oh, it's over." Oh, okay. Well, I guess there has to be.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So that's what kind of turned me off, was that there was way too much lull. There's too much lull in the match. Like there was like a lot of the first 5 minutes was them kind of like
headlocks and just like feeling each other out, where they did the test of strength kind of moves. It was like, yes, it was very slow building, and it didn't feel like we reached that time limit where it was like you fought for 30 minutes, you gave it your all. And, the Iron Man match of Michael's Heart, where they just, I know it was 60 minutes there, but like where they just beat the shit out of each other, and you're like, man, they really gave it their all. It didn't feel that way with this one.
No, it didn't. They could have shortened this match by about 4 minutes, and it probably would have been a 3-star match.
Could have been. Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with you there. And I have to laugh. In 98, Rey Mysterio does the 619 a lot, but it's not the 619 you're familiar with, where he, where the opponent is draped over the middle rope. He does the 619 to like, he's about to go to the outside, and the opponent moves on the outside to like dodge him spearing or do whatever he wants. So he just does the 619, like spins back into the ring. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times, but yeah, I guess I never really remembered him doing it in 98 and 99, like where I felt like the 619 was something that I first saw in the WWE.
Well, it's like he took that little dodge move and said, like, what if there was a person here? And then turned it into a move like that.
Right. No, I like the move and all. I just didn't remember him ever doing it in any fashion in WCW.
Gotcha. So after the match, the Cruiserweight title is now on the line, so Rey Mysterio could be wrestling Kidman at World War III, or he could be wrestling Chavo, who, of course, is going to get his 5th, 7th, 8th, 10th opportunity at the Cruiserweight title here. And we will see our second side of the night at this point is it says, give him the donkey punch.
Dude,
So,
when I saw that sign, I'm sitting there like, I didn't know what the donkey punch was until a little bit later in my life, but I'm glad to know that in 1998 the donkey punch was something that was sign-worthy. So well done, whoever wanted to try to get that on TV.
This Virginia crowd was classy, to say the least.
That's right.
We do find out that Kevin Nash and Scott Hall have been signed for World War III. I'm not sure why they're fighting again, but hey, you know what? I guess they are. As for the match itself, Chavo's going to dominate. I mean, dominate's probably a strong word, but he's going to control, I feel like, a lot of the match early on. But a lot of it is he controls the match, then talks to Pepe. Controls the match, hops around the ring with Pepe. A lot of taunting. We go to commercial break. Heenan is still trying to discuss his pick for World War III. Chavo's going to do the deathlock into like a STF combo submission, which I thought was really cool. And it's also, of course, when Heenan's going to make another Okerlund wedding cake comment. And then he's going to say something about but Gene was actually wearing a T-shirt. And this is where Schiavone just starts cracking up. He can't let it go. The match is going to heat up with a lot of quick back and forth 2 counts here. And this is where you expect the crowd to really be into it. They were fucking dead. Really, the whole night, I felt like this crowd was pretty dead. But they were really dead during this match. Chavo's going to do a springboard bulldog, get a near 2 count. Then Chavo's going to go for the powerbomb, but it's reversed into a face smasher. This leads to almost the shooting star press, and this might be the only time the crowd woke up. They were ready for the shooting star press. But instead, here comes the LWO. They come in. There's the disqualification finish. I gave it 2 3/4 stars. I liked it. I wasn't crazy about the ending, but I liked this match much more than I liked the previous match, and I gave the previous match 2.5 stars, so I had to at least bump it up to 2 3/4 star for that reason.
And that's exactly what I thought too. I did enjoy this a little bit more than the Ray Hoovy match. Some slow, sloppy parts, but overall I did like the match more. It was just better paced. I think that was really what it came down to. There wasn't, even when there was times when there were some chin locks and whatever. We've seen this match a couple times with these guys. As much as these guys like to fly around the ring and do kind of like your classic cruiserweight type of match, both of these guys are very good technician wrestlers. So it's not always going to be the Lucha Libre style. It's going to be more of like a Dean Malenko, Jericho type of thing where like they're capable of doing some cool stuff, but for the most part, they're much more to the mat than most of the other luchadors are. The ending was kind of lame, as you would like to see a true winner. But once again, we've seen this song and dance. Like Kidman has basically won every single time he's faced Chavo. So I wasn't too mad about this actually happening. I did just find it funny that LWO is making the save for Chavo, even though it ultimately cost him a title shot. I don't know what the LWO's like reasoning behind this was, because they came in to take on. It looked like they were there to beat up Kidman, but then when they all got in, they're all beating up on Chavo. I didn't really understand it, but whatever.
Yeah, very weird. They just, like you said, the LWO comes in, attacks everybody. Ray's going to come in, start trying to save people, but he accidentally hits Kidman. Apparently Kidman accidentally hit him on Nitro, so of course they're going to be wrestling at World War III, so it makes a little bit of sense that they might hit each other, but it was just kind of like...
It also makes a lot of sense that Ray won his match.
Yes,
when you think about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But to your point, I'm not sure what the LWO is doing right now. They've got like they want Ray to join the LWO storyline. That might still be going on. Chavo might want to join them, but they're not letting him in storyline. And then, of course, they might be feuding with the Horsemen. We don't know. Like, the LWO is just kind of all over the place right now. And
also, they don't like Eric Bischoff. It's like, I don't know. Like, dude, pick a side.
Right. After the match, though, we've got Canyon. We come back and it's immediately cuts to Canyon in the ring in the middle of a promo. Like, I felt like it was when we got the warning about technical difficulties last week. I feel like this was another one of those moments where like something was very abrupt here. But he's in the ring talking about how he keeps it real here in the 90s, does the "Who's Better Than Canyon" bit, and this is going to bring out Dean Malenko, his opponent for the night. So we get Canyon and Dean. So at least the matches have started to heat up as far as talent wise. And the commentary team is going to make a comment, of course. The Horsemen and the LWO are big parts of World War III. And also the NWO will be a part of that of World War III. I just thought they led with the LWO and the Horsemen. So, as for the match itself, we get a commercial break early on. Raven is apparently clinically depressed, if you talk to Mike Tenay. And commentary team is going to spend half the match talking more about World War III. I felt like this has been basically the script for the night. Let's talk about World War III. And they discussed that being tall is a major disadvantage. And if you were Eddie Gonzalez, you'd have a great shot at winning this. Of course, Eddie's a 3-foot jockey from Louisville. But Heenan says, I thought I'd throw that in. And Tony immediately replies and said, you should have thrown it out. And then they continue by saying, Tenay, I think, says, what does Malenko have up his sleeve? To which Heenan, of course, says, nothing, he's shirtless. So, really, the banter between Heenan and everybody else in commentary might have been the star of the show. Would you agree this week?
I mean, Chris Adams did do a super kick.
That's
and
true.
a power bomb. Hold on, power bomb. Also power bomb.
Yeah, yes. Raven is going to leave this during the match. Malenko's going to block a flatliner. Then he's going to go to put on the cloverleaf, but Canyon's going to get to the rope. Then Malenko's going to Malenko's going to, I think, powerbomb Canyon in the process to bring in a cloverleaf. And he's going to lock it on, but Lodi's going to come in for the interference because why not? And that's going to cause a disqualification. Chris Benoit is going to come out afterwards then to help clear the ring of Lodi and Canyon. I gave the match 2 stars, but I'm really confused on why Lodi is here.
Yeah, I give this 2 1/4. I think this whole thing that throws us in here is that, like, why Lodi? There really isn't much of an explanation of why Raven is still the way he is. It feels like it's been 2 months that he's just been kind of like, I feel like there's not a storyline. It's just literally there's like, what's up with Raven? And then we don't really.
He's sad and just continues to lose, and that's like been his story right now.
I don't know. It's not good enough for me. I feel like there needs to be more.
That's fair.
There needs to be more of Raven complaining about something, because Raven, when he was doing well, complained, and now that he's not doing well, is not complaining at all. That's what's so weird about this character, is that when everything was on his side, he had the flock, he was a U.S. champion, he was a decent mid carder. All he did was complain and bitch and whine and moan. Now that he is not winning at all, it's just like he's just there, and it's just a weird departure of the Raven character. But I mean, that still shouldn't take away from the fact that I thought this match was pretty good. And that's why, like, I had to give it that 2 1/4 star, even with the shitty ending. I mean, once again, it's Thunder. I don't know how many great endings you're going to get. I feel like we're a little desensitized by the lack of a impactful ending. But I thought that the match quality was above average, so 2 1/4 stars.
After the match, we move to our main event for the night. So the one we've really been anticipating is Konnan and the Giant are going to be wrestling. The commentary team does let us know that Konnan is not going to be 100% because the Hitman had his own hit list and Konnan was on it. This past week on Nitro, sounds like he did a chair shot attack on Konnan. Konnan's going to get into the ring, though. He's going to say Konnan things. And this is where we're going to see our third sign of the night. And it's a Giant Oholic Jonathan is what it says. It's about an 8-year-old fan who is apparently a big Giant fan, which I didn't know was a thing, I'm going to be honest.
That's the first time I've heard of it.
That said, Giant is apparently 7'4" and 550 pounds, as the commentary team discusses it, and apparently you have a big problem with that, Kyle.
I mean, I just have a problem with it because it's very, very much not true. I mean, that's about 3 inches and 150 pounds less than what he actually is. So I think at this point in his career, he's probably maybe 7'1", 7'2" at best, 400 pounds. I don't think he's 550. That's Giant Haystacks, territory.
All right. He is going to dominate Konnan early on in this match. This is going to lead to a light smattering of Goldberg chants. Konnan is eventually going to kind of gain control and goes for the body slam, but immediately the Giant falls on top of him like you'd see in a video game. And I am incredibly happy that he did not body slam the Giant, because I thought for half a second they were going to let it happen and take place. And I was going to say that takes any mystique ever about the Giant away if Konnan's able to body slam him.
Yep, I totally agree. Really, if you think about it, Konnan has always been, as far as in his peak, has always been kind of like I would say a heavier luchador. And if he had the ability to body slam the Giant, then it's like, okay. I was almost not happy about when Sting body slammed the Giant. I understand that Sting is kind of strong.
Sting always has this, Sting is larger than life, right?
Right. He has a mysterious strength type of thing. Yeah.
That said, in this match, Konnan and Giant are going to go to the outside and battle around for a while. And they said the ref was counting them out, but I didn't get the impression that he was actually counting them out at all. But
they were on the outside for over a minute. I don't think they were.
It was quite a while. The Giant's going to grab a table, and he's going to lean it up nicely against the outside ring post, and he's going to set Konnan up against it, and then he's going to go charging like a bull right at it. Konnan's going to move. The Giant's going to have plenty of time to avoid running into it, but he still leaps into the table, and that's going to bust the table. Konnan's going to go around the corner, grab a chair, and he's going to get disqualified in this match. He's going to hit the Giant with the chair. Gotta say, if you would have asked me to pick a DQ finish for the main event, I would not have thought it would have been Konnan getting DQ'd here. That said, I still gave it a star and 3/4.
I didn't rate it. There was really nothing going on in the ring. There was some shenanigans going on the outside and a padded chair shot. That's to me, that's a dud.
What's not a dud, though, is Charles Robinson taking the chokeslam after the match.
Dude, bump of the night. He got chokeslammed to China.
I feel like recently Charles Robinson took a nasty fall or spill or something in another recent match we were watching, like last week or a couple weeks ago or something like that. And I can't think of what it was.
I'm trying to think. I think he got jackknifed not that long ago.
It was either that, or it may have even been in Halloween Havoc where he was ragdolled. But he takes a good chokeslam here, and Tony Schiavone's going to wrap the show up by saying, "What a horrible way to leave you." And I had to laugh because I couldn't disagree. I mean, I couldn't agree more, Tony. Like this, not that actually it was great seeing Charles Robinson take that, but this Thunder was just that sums it up right there. What a horrible way to leave you. That was our show. That was our Thunder. We've only discussed, this podcast is at 33 minutes right now, Kyle, and that's probably because the show was 4 or 5 matches, 3 of them that weren't even worth discussing, and then a couple that were very long, but nothing else happens. I mean, there wasn't a lot to discuss outside of that. And for me, it wasn't a good Thunder, but it definitely wasn't the worst Thunder. It wasn't the one we had a couple weeks ago. And I think this is kind of what we're going to expect from these pre-taped shows. They're not going to have a whole lot of crazy storyline happen. Now, that said, we did get Rey Mysterio #1 contender for the Cruiserweight title at World War III, so we did get something out of this. But for the most part, it's superstars. They bring out a lot of these C and D superstars to just wrestle and fill time. And then you get a couple of B or C level NWO people for the main events. No promos. I mean, other than the pre-match promos from Konnan and Glacier and stuff like that. Just the people you expect to cut a promo before their matches. But that's it. And that's kind of the Thunder recipe on these pre-tape shows. And it is what it is. I will say, Heenan was fantastic, so at least they were entertaining on commentary. So, for the most part, I'm going to say it was an okay, but a subpar okay Thunder. What about you?
Well, I mean, it's not the same hyperbole that you were giving. Where the live show before, I think it was before. It
was the go home show for Halloween Havoc. That was the downfall of WCW.
Right, the downfall of WCW. It wasn't that bad, but then again, I think I remember saying I actually didn't mind it. This particular Thunder definitely started off on the wrong track at the beginning, and I'm glad that it ended the way it did. It's kind of like it went from shit to great work to classic ending. And by classic ending, I just mean like, okay, it's NWO factions going at each other with no real finish. You know, that's a pretty classic main event DQ finish. Now, who actually got the DQ finish obviously was a little bit different. I think in the end, it's the same. It's the same story, you know, that's being pushed forward. It's just the NWO, you know, factions not liking each other. Which, for the record, I feel like the Wolfpack B team, which at this point I'm calling Conan and Luger, versus the NWO B team, which is basically everybody but Hogan. It's getting stale right now for me. I don't know if I felt that way when I was a kid.
Incredibly stale. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember feeling that way back then, but God, I'm so sick of it now.
And I think it just has a lot to do with the fact that it's so cookie cutter on Thunder. And maybe it's not as cookie cutter on Nitro because that's the flagship show. And we're now really starting to understand kind of what Thunder's role is, as far as what kind of show it's going to end up being, where the storyline is not so much as like a narrative as much as just, hey, here's these guys who don't like each other wrestling. But yeah, it's getting stale. I mean, yeah, the crowd eats it up. Probably one of the bigger pops was Giant and Conan, and even so, yeah, like you said before, this crowd overall just seemed like they were a little burnt out. Maybe this was like the second half of the show, so maybe, you know, this was kind of the way it ended. I'm not quite sure. Once again, the tape shows are always kind of a weird idea of, you know, was this done before or after the live show? It's not the easiest way to, or it's not the easiest thing to kind of figure out. But yeah, the whole thing with the Wolfpack and NWO right now is there's no stakes involved. I'm not invested in it as a person who just watches Thunder. And there really wasn't enough from Nitro to be told to keep this feud going for me. Right now, the NWO feuding has devolved to personal issues with particular people. You know, you've got your Nash and Hall, and that's really it as far as, like, you know, Hogan doesn't give a shit about the Wolfpack at this point. He has no qualms with anybody in the Wolfpack. He's running for goddamn president, so who cares at this point? But as far as the rest of the show, like I said, we had 3 matches that went 10 minutes or longer, 2 of which had poor endings, and the other one I probably wish had ended earlier in the Ray and Hoovy match. But once again, like, yeah, if you're really trying to keep the TV audience's attention, you got to pick some people that are not Glacier, Chris Adams, Kenny Kaos, Kendall goddamn Windham, Jerry Flynn. I'll throw Stevie Ray in there, even though Stevie Ray's kind of a staying name in Thunder, so I get it that he's on the show. But that was your first half hour of the show were those guys. So there's just nothing to pop for. So we can say what we want to say about the crowd, but what the hell are they supposed to cheer for? For the third straight week, the mid-card really carried the load.
That
Go
Chris
ahead.
Adams powerbomb, dude. What else?
Yeah, that's right.
For?
That's true. It's just true. I feel like someone had to have cheered. There had been somebody. There's one Chris Adams mark that clapped for that moment.
I mean, I cheered, so there's at least
This
one
is true.
guy.
But like I said, for the third straight week, the mid-card really carried the load with the good workers and the fast-paced lucha matches. I have enjoyed the Canyon Malenko match with or without Lodi fucking it up. So maybe at some point you had 30 minutes of straight garbage. Just, you know, the crowd was just kind of dislocated at that point and was just not into it, no matter what you give them, because they really weren't into the Ray Hoovy match or really anything. I mean, there really wasn't much cheering until Conan started. But yeah, I think in the end it was a middling Thunder.
Yeah, that it was, and that was our show this week. Hopefully, it was more than a middling podcast, but I'm not gonna overhype it, you know. But we'll be back next week with Thunder 41, November 19th, 1998. It will be the go home show for World War III. So go give it a watch, then come back here and join us. And if you haven't yet subscribed to our podcast, go do it, so that way the new episode is there every Thursday at 6 a.m. Eastern for your listening pleasure. Of course, you can always give us a follow on Twitter at Thundercraps. Let us know how we're doing. Tweet out at us. We like to interact with all of you guys. Let us know how the show is. And, we like to post entertaining gifs from the show as well on there. So And you can always go to thundercraps.com for all of our previous episodes and other stuff like that. That's it for Kyle Hogan. I am Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thunder Craps podcast.
We are Eddie Gonzalezingly out of time. See ya.
What a horrible way to leave you.